Welcome to So Darn Fun, a channel about clothing alterations, pattern reviews, and other sewing how-tos. I made a pair of jeans, a nearly perfect pair of jeans. I pre-washed the fabric, I made them up, I was so happy, and then I threw them back in the washing machine, and then when I took them out and tried them on, they were too short. My nearly perfect pair of jeans. But I have a solution. So what I'm about to show you can be used on jeans as well as slacks. In slacks, sometimes there's more of a hem allowance that you have to fiddle with that you can let down. But in jeans, there's just usually that 1/2 inch, maybe 5/8 inch turn up on the inside. So the only thing that you're gonna need, other than your sewing machine and your iron and your normal stuff that you would have, are 2 strips of a bias fabric. Choose a lightweight fabric. I chose a sheeting. It's actually a polyester sheet, so I know it's not gonna shrink. I made my strip 1 1/4 inches wide. I measured the width of my pant leg. I multiplied it times 2, and then I added 1.5 inches just for wiggle room. I like to use bias because, see that? There's some give there. Oftentimes on jeans and pants, the leg either tapers or it flares out. So the bias instability is actually going to benefit me as I put this on my jean leg. I've got my strip cut. My jean leg width was 8 3/4 inches. So when I multiply that times 2, I get 17.5. Then when I add my 1.5 inches extra, I have 19 inches. You can use scissors, you can use a rotary cutter, any way to get that. So I've got my strips, and this is what I do. All right, here we are at my ironing board where I'm going to take out the hems. I like to have a sticky roller nearby because it helps me pull out those threads. So I guess I should have mentioned maybe a seam ripper would be helpful. If you don't have a seam ripper, some sharp scissors and a pin, you can pull out these stitches. When I'm done plucking out all those threads, I like to give it a good press so that those folds aren't fighting against me. Take one of your strips, and we're just gonna press over one of the short ends, probably 1/4 inch or so. You'll see why in the next step. I have my machine threaded with regular thread. I've got my bias strip that has the fold that I pressed in, and I'm placing it this way on the inner seam of my pants, the inner leg seam, or somewhere about. It can be right off the seam or right on the seam. I'm using a 1/4 inch edge stitch foot, not necessary, it's just a cheater way to make it easy for me. I'm going to sew around it with a 1/4 inch seam. Now if you need to let out more hem, you can go all the way to an 1/8 inch if you need, but I just will be okay with a 1/4 inch. And then when you get back around to the beginning, just lay the rest of your strip over the top of the beginning portion. And that's all for now with this. And then we're done with this portion. Now you see that beginning and ending. Now you know why we pressed that little edge under, because now it is finished off nicely when we turn that under. Now here's what we have, and now we've taken it to the ironing board. We've got it laid out. Here's our beginning part. Let's fold just the bias strip down. We're not going to fold the denim at this point. We're going to fold it down and give it a good press all the way around. Once we've got that pressed up, I'm actually going to turn the leg inside out. It makes more sense to do it that way. With the leg inside out and with the bias strip pressed flat, we are going to turn up the denim and the bias strip as much as we want our new hem to be. Sometimes it might be more, but chances are it's going to be less, being that you probably want to take your jeans down as much as possible. So I'm going to crease this and press it just so that the denim barely turns up to the inside. That way there's no chance of my black bias strip showing. So I'm going to press it all the way around like that. Now what I want to do is turn my bias strip to the inside again. I kind of tuck it under the denim that's in there. I want it to be about a half an inch to the inside, measuring from the fold of the bias strip to the denim itself. And this part doesn't have to be exact because it is not going to show. Your top stitching in the next step is going to be more important than this. But I'll try for nice and tidy. Once you've got everything pressed under, bring it to your machine. I have a top stitching thread threaded through here. If you don't have top stitching thread, you can take 2 strands of regular thread, spin bobbin off, and see if you can feed 2 threads through your needle to get a thicker thread. That's if you want it to show. If you don't want it to show, then just use regular thread. Now we're going to do this from the top, thus top stitching, and I don't measure only because sometimes my seam underneath is inconsistent, but I use my finger to feel where it's at. I know that sounds kind of crazy. We're going to start like this. I have my machine set to a 4 length, and often I have to adjust my upper tension to be tighter so that it works better with top stitching thread. So, feeling with my left hand and knowing that when I feel the ridge, I want it to come to the left of my needle. Notice I don't backstitch till I get to the end. It's just not necessary. So when I overlap the threads at the very end, it makes sense to backstitch. And there we have it. Now I'm going to check it to make sure I didn't miss any. If I went off the edge, then I'll have to redo that spot. Looks good. Now for leg 2. As you can see, I gained quite a bit more length on these jeans after the alteration, which I was glad I was able to do. If you've watched the video this far, chances are you have long legs and you've needed to lower the hem on those jeans. So I hope that you got some good ideas today. Thanks for watching, and I would appreciate you giving me a thumbs up and a subscribe. Even hit that notification bell if you think that some more of my tips might be useful for you. And I'll see you next time.